Hi, Yvonne. It's very difficult to tell for sure how many a day, but there have been a few predictions, and we could be looking at millions a day. For example, one of the predictions saying that perhaps China's COVID will reach the peak around 13th to 27th of January and reaching about 4.8 millions a day.
So
So
that
it's still very serious.
yeah, so that will be after the New Year celebrations, which are expected to start this weekend.
Right, it could be during the New Year celebration, actually.
Tell us a bit more about how authorities are preparing to cope with the surging cases.
Well, hospitals are very, very busy for sure. And the one of the stats that we get from the government CDC shows that by the 12th of January, the hospitalized COVID cases have reached 1.27 million, and with over 100,000 people in intensive care. So hospitals are absolutely very, very busy and very overwhelmed at the moment. But I would say perhaps the most difficult times have passed because December, the end of December would have been the most difficult time in China.
Well, how cautious are Chinese citizens being as families gather in large numbers over the next 2 weeks from this weekend?
Yeah, of all the dozens of people I spoke to in China, they're very, very cautious. From the cities to villages, and they're not really. Yes, they're looking forward to absolutely seeing their families, but also at the same time, they're telling me that they're not really going to have big gatherings, and they would prefer to stay home. We also should also know that many family members have had really hard times during COVID, and some family members are still recovering from intensive care. So that's also another reason why some people are not traveling really.
Now, Delia, authorities recently reported 60,000 deaths from COVID in a month. Now, that's only counting those who died in a hospital. How can China provide a more complete picture of the impact of COVID at the moment?
Yeah, as we have known that the way that China has calculated death from COVID is very different. Not traditional. I mean, in the past, until recently, that only pneumonia or respiratory failure directly resulting from COVID are counted in the official COVID death toll. So only very recently that death not just from pneumonia directly resulting from COVID, but also death from other diseases plus COVID are also calculated. So that's why we have over 60,000 death toll over the past month. But certainly that can be further improved. For example, there are also many people who have died at home or in communities rather than in hospitals. As we know that hospitals are very overwhelmed, so not enough beds for everybody.
And latest economic figures show some of the worst GDP growth on record for China, but not surprising given the battering the economy has had during the pandemic.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. But also netizens are also surprised at this expansion because the stats also reported that China's GDP expanded 2.5% on the year on year on the first half of 2022. That actually surprised many netizens because of COVID and COVID restrictions. Many businesses have slowed down or have gone bankruptcy. So it's very difficult to actually envisage an expansion, in fact, in the first half of 2022. But the report was showed an expansion, even though it was very slow.
So what kind of rebound analysts are looking at, do you think, post-COVID, or when the case numbers start to go down, people start travelling a lot more, and people start living life as they did previous to COVID?
Yeah, exactly. And many are expecting a kind of revived enthusiasm and economic rebound, perhaps after Lunar New Year, when many people have recovered from their COVID and family members have recovered from COVID. And also now we are seeing more and more restaurants and are opening, and more people are going out to the streets and are enjoying life as they usually do. So perhaps even as early as February after the Lunar New Year, we would see more and more people going to the streets and enjoy their everyday activities.
And also new data out shows the population has entered an era of negative growth. What kind of implications does that have on the country?
Yeah, huge. I mean, this negative population growth is actually the very first one since the end of the Great Famine in 1961, and the famine, as we know, that killed tens of millions of people. So this is the very first negative reported negative population growth. But I think what is concerning is the previous negative population growth might have been a short-term one, and then we saw a rebound very quickly. But this time, it's experts are saying that it's very difficult actually to see a rebound in population in the foreseeable future. I think it's also those long-term implications that we should be concerned about.
Well, Delia Lin, thank you so much for your analysis and all the best for the year of the rabbit ahead.
Thank you, and the same to you, Yvonne.
Thank you.